But we start with an explosive drop from the Justice Department just hours ago, releasing transcripts and audio from July interviews with Jeffrey Epstein's associate, Ghislaine Maxwell, who is serving, of course, 20 years after being convicted of sex trafficking. Maxwell saying she never saw President Trump engaging in inappropriate behavior.
Did you ever hear Mr. Epstein or anybody say that President Trump had done anything inappropriate with masseuses or with anybody in your world?
Absolutely never, in any context.
Did you ever observe President Trump receive a massage?
Never.
And she denies the existence of a client list.
So, there's been a lot of conversations about whether Mr. Epstein maintained like a list of people, like a book of famous people that he knew, it's called a black book or a client list or a list. Did you know of the existence of any such list?
There is no list. We'll start with that. The genesis of that story I can actually trace for you from its absolute inception, if that is what you're interested in.
She also claims she never saw Epstein taking photos of people for blackmail.
Did you ever, how about photographs? Did you ever observe Mr. Epstein or anybody around him take pictures of anybody in compromising positions with women or with anybody?
No.
Did you ever hear, when you were present for conversations that Mr. Epstein was having or others were having, anybody accuse him of blackmailing them or of trying to extort them because of something Mr. Epstein knew?
No.
And in a striking moment, Maxwell shares her opinion on whether or not Epstein died by suicide.
So you think he did not die by suicide, given all the things we just talked about?
I do not believe he died by suicide, no.
Bombshell developments here. Maxwell's attorney issuing a statement, writing in part, quote, Maxwell is innocent and never should have been tried, much less convicted in this case. The materials newly released by the Department of Justice make this clear. Also thanking President Trump for his, quote, commitment to the truth and refusing to cave to the mob. Joining me now is Nancy Erica Smith, renowned civil rights attorney who has represented numerous victims of sexual harassment, and Emily Bazelon, legal writer with the New York Times Magazine. It's great to have you both. Nancy, I will start with you. As we were playing some of that sound, I could see out of the corner of my eye that you were already starting to react. So I just want to let you go. What is your initial impression of Maxwell and what we've learned from this so far?
What we've learned is that Todd Blanche, Trump's personal attorney, one of many he's installed in our Department of Justice, had a cozy little conversation with somebody who's a convicted sex trafficker and asked her questions as if she's not a liar and a sociopath. And she attacked the victims. She did what Weinstein and Ailes and Combs and other incredible violators of women have done. She says, well, why did they come back? Well, these were young, very young girls. They have testified at length. And
they've answered that question.
They have answered that question. It's outrageous that we're supposed to believe that Trump's lawyer has now gotten to the truth after a jury, after a trial, has found Ghislaine Maxwell guilty of sex trafficking beyond a reasonable doubt. It's outrageous that the DOJ would attack its own conviction. And they are talking about subpoenaing the Clintons and Bill Barr. Let's have the victims testify in Congress. Let's have Maureen Comey, who prosecuted Maxwell and Epstein. She really knows the facts. I have no confidence that anything this DOJ is going to release is going to be truthful. Their job is to protect Trump, not the American people. They've made that clear over and over and over again. His personal lawyers in New Jersey, his personal personal lawyer has been found to be unqualified, and she's still the U.S. attorney in our state. Todd Blanche, his personal lawyer. Bondi, who protected him and campaigned for him and has close ties to him. We can't trust this DOJ. They represent Trump, not us. So this is just more whitewashing to cover up his incredible closeness to a sex trafficker.
And we've talked about it on our air many times now, but I mean, Todd Blanche actually went on a podcast with Ghislaine Maxwell's personal attorney. That relationship goes back a while and is more than just sort of casual acquaintances. Emily, I want to play some sound for you. We of course, we're just talking about the victim blaming here. And some of the comments Ghislaine Maxwell made over the course of these interviews were really eyebrow raising. I want you to take a listen to one section in which she describes never seeing an unhappy masseuse.
I saw him with lots of masseuses. I never saw a single masseuse ever look unhappy or not come back or whatever. So based on my observation, I don't think that if you are being raped, as now he's like this prolific, I just can't imagine why you would return.
It's not what you observed at the time.
Not what I observed at the time, no.
Emily, what do you make of the comments Ghislaine Maxwell made there, implying that all of these women must have enjoyed the job, they brought themselves back? I mean, we know because we have had victims come and describe this in painstaking detail, the way in which they were manipulated, harmed, abused. So I know I don't need to explain that to you, but what do you make of what we heard her say just there?
I understand why it's in Ghislaine Maxwell's interest to minimize everything here, because she's been convicted of serious crimes in relation to all of these accusations. So if she makes it sound like nothing bad happened, then that helps her with her appeal. And surely she's hoping for some kind of pardon or some relief from President Trump. What I don't understand is why President Trump thinks the people who are upset about the very serious charges of sexual assault, this conspiracy here, right? That's what the Epstein case stands for, this conspiracy among elite people hurting the powerless. Why are they going to find it convincing to hear Ghislaine Maxwell, the single person who's actually in prison for these crimes, exonerate herself and then say that President Trump did nothing wrong? It just seems backwards that if this is what they're upset about, that she would have credibility to get President Trump off the hook, to get herself off the hook. That's the part of this that I just still, every time we talk about this, I just don't understand how 2 + 2 = 4 here.
Yeah, I mean, in parts of it, some of the remarks that she makes actually would be insulting. If you're one of the people who's been in this, very concerned about this case, tracking it on one of the podcasts for quite a long time. I mean, at one point, she compares the spectacle around all of this to the Salem witch trial. Another comparison that I find very interesting, given the gendered aspects, of course, of that trial, the way in which women were discredited and labeled as hysterical. And not to be believed through that. But take a listen to some of her remarks there.
So that narrative that was created and then built upon and it just mushroomed into what basically this is like a Salem witch trial. People gone lost their minds for this thing. Another thing is that everyone puts us together a monolith. He literally had a separate life from me. I literally had a separate life from him. Now, did they say? Well, of course they did. I'm not crazy, but he kept a lot to himself, and he didn't like to share. He was not a sharer, well, at least not with
Mr. Epstein.
Nancy, is this the Salem witch trials?
It's the Salem witch trials for the victims. They're the ones who are being attacked. They're the ones who are being called liars by a convicted sex trafficker. I mean, there's so much evidence in this case. Who has a stable of masseuses that Donald Trump himself said are very young? Who has that? I mean, it's outrageous to attack the victims like this and take their voices away. We know how painful it is. They've told us how painful it is. And then the Trump administration, who's installed his private lawyer in the DOJ, releases this as if we're supposed to believe a sociopathic sex trafficker who's been moved to Club Fed a beautiful federal prison not for sex traffickers. The prison's own rules say she couldn't be in Club Fed. Why did she get moved? Because she's going to say stuff like lies like this, and we're supposed to believe it. It's outrageous.
Emily, of course, a lot of the attention tonight is on Ghislaine, her words, what it's like for people to listen to her in this extensive audio. But did anything about the way Todd Blanche conducted himself in these interviews interest or surprise you?
Blanche seems very amenable to the answers she's giving. He's not pressing her. She is saying what he wants to hear about President Trump, and then he's letting her talk in this way that's helpful to her case. This is not a skeptical lawyer kind of trying to test someone's credibility or really test anything. He came to get a story, and he got that story. That's what this seems like.
You agree with that? I feel you want to say something.
As a lawyer, you know, this was outrageous. This was, you know what we want you to say. Nothing bad happened. It's blame the victims, and Donald Trump had nothing to do with Jeffrey Epstein, despite all the evidence that he did have a lot to do with Jeffrey Epstein.
Do you have faith in any part of the sort of many tentacles of this process at this point? For example, Congressman Ro Khanna, Congressman Massey, trying to give survivors the opportunity to have their voices heard on the Hill, trying to compel their colleagues to do something about this when they're all back in September. Yep. Does any part of this seem legitimate to you?
No, none of this is legitimate to me. Nothing that comes out of this DOJ is going to be legitimate. We've already heard the leaks of them redacting Trump's name and cleaning it up, releasing this ridiculous transcript. It's so illegitimate, it's ridiculous. It assumes we're all stupid, and some of us are.